Okay, I've been having technical problems. Is it on? Looks like it might be. Let's see here. Bear with me for a little bit here, folks. Let me see. Alright, it looks like it might be. Let me see. Alright. Yeah, I think we got it. Alright. Yeah, I apologize. Doing this on YouTube is a lot different than doing it on Twitch, and before I was really just streaming through my Xbox. So I've never really had to deal with OBS or any of these. Alright, so just give me one moment. Make sure I got it all. Are you able to hear me? I turned up my mic more than last time. I know a few of y'all were having issues with how it sounded. Of course, now my chat isn't even popping up. I apologize. I don't know how any of this works on here. Here, let me do it like this. Since it's only my second one, I'll just pull it up on my phone. Watch the chat through there. All right. So yeah, I'll just monitor it that way. It's not ideal, but this stream is already 49 minutes late. Is there sound? Is it working? If at any point the videos are too quiet, just let me know. Here we go. What I would like to do is I would like to cover some important news from today, just a few things, especially since the stream started later than I wanted it to. Point it more towards me. All right. So, if you haven't heard, the Crimean bridge was destroyed. It's right there with Nord Stream 2. It's probably a huge indicator that we're heading towards World War III. Now, nobody is taking official credit for blowing this fucker up. Ukraine isn't trying to come out and say they did it. None of our allies are acting like they did it. Russia doesn't have any motive to do it. I mean, they didn't with Nord Stream either, though, but not supposed to talk about that, are you? So, to make sure I'm not being biased, I pulled up the most mainstream publications covering the topic. So yeah, let me see here. Pull that up. There we go. Let's peep this out. Video is unavailable. Unavailable? Hold on, let's see why. They take it down? Video is private? What? Alright. Let me see here. Flip over this. Switching accounts. My music page is the one that I pay for. I can't believe it's unavailable. What the hell? What the hell? Yeah, they really took it down. Alright, well, I had kind of monitored that one a little bit just to make sure that it was decent, but apparently... Alright, well, we'll just click on CBS this morning then. Oh.
We begin here with news breaking overnight. Russia is blaming Ukraine for a truck bomb that caused a major fire to erupt on the only bridge that links Russian-annexed Crimea to Russia. Authorities say part of the bridge collapsed overnight. Russia's foreign ministry said Ukraine's reaction to the bridge collapse shows, quote, their terrorist nature. Russia has used the strategic bridge to transport weapons for its war in Ukraine.
Yeah, obviously Russia's going to blame Ukraine for it. Why the fuck wouldn't they? But a real question is, are they just blaming it? Because I'm pretty sure in the other video that was just taken down, they were talking about how Ukraine swore that all of these, how did they word it? They said something like illegal, I don't even know what they said, but everything illegal by Russia is going to be destroyed essentially, and I guess they considered the bridge among that. It's seems interesting.
Amageddon is in Ukraine with the very latest on this. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning to you. This is a major escalation this morning. Moscow had threatened Kyiv with reprisals if that bridge was attacked. One military analyst called it a punch in the face for President Putin on his 70th birthday.
Images all over social media this morning
blew it up on his birthday.
Crimea in flames.
On his birthday.
Bridge ablaze, and a section of the parallel road bridge collapsed into the sea. Russia's state media blamed the blast on a car bomb. A spectacular explosion setting fire to 7 railway oil tankers just after 6 a.m.
That's
fucked. The bridge is the only link to Crimea from the Russian mainland, a hated symbol of Russia's illegal land grab since 2018, when President Vladimir Putin personally drove a truck across it at the official opening. The bridge in Crimea
that's some ballsy shit.
was thought to be beyond the reach and capability of Ukrainian forces. But the past 2 months has seen a series of attacks on Crimea, and the Ukrainian government has repeatedly vowed to take the peninsula back. It comes as Ukrainian forces take ever more territory in the east and the south toward Kherson. In nightly addresses, President Zelensky reading out recaptured towns like a shopping list.
Man, we're pushing towards nuclear war.
Yet, Russian forces are fighting back too.
Pause. Who thinks that it's a good idea to put Putin in a corner? I mean, let me know. It looks like there's one person watching. I'm not sure if it's just the fact that I'm monitoring on my phone. But let me know in the comments if you're watching this after. Why is it a good idea to put Putin in a corner? The only thing that he has to do is fight himself out. If he doesn't think that there's any hope for him to live, if he really thinks that he's going to go down for war crimes, he's going to want to kill himself. Why wouldn't he? And why wouldn't he feel like, I'm going to take all you bastards with me? It's a fucking logical line of thought. So, is this really the best play? I'm not saying what he's doing to Ukraine is right. I'm not saying that us doing nothing is the right thing, but I'm not saying us helping is the right thing either. So, I'm just curious. What do you think about this?
The frontline city of Bakhmut in the Donbass region and launching long-range missiles into residential areas like the attack on the apartment block in Zaporizhia, where the death toll has now risen to 14. More innocent victims of Putin's war.
President Zelensky said Ukrainian forces have recaptured roughly 1,000 square miles of territory since this recent counteroffensive began.
Wow.
An area roughly the size of Yosemite National Park. Dana?
All right, Charlie, thank you.
That's crazy.
We begin with breaking news.
I did not have autoplay set, did I? Do I? Autoplay is on. Let me shut that off. See, that seems absolutely mind-boggling to me. First, we destroy the oil. Now we destroy the bridge. If Russia feels like they're being put into a corner, they will retaliate. This is not going to go the way we think. Actually, maybe I'll pull up some of these videos. I know that right now, our oil is being sold from the Middle East to Russia, to China, to Europe and America, which means that our gas prices are going to skyrocket. They're going to be exponentially higher than they've been. So, with everything going on, the other day, Biden said, this is the closest we've been to nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis. He's not wrong. They're finally covering it on more mainstream sources. I was talking about this a couple days ago, and it didn't seem like anybody that should be covering it was really talking about it, but here we go.
President Biden's comments regarding Russian President Vladimir Putin's possible use of nuclear weapons is raising new concerns about the war in Ukraine. The president warned on Thursday that he takes Putin's threats seriously and
as
that
he
the
should.
world is closer to Armageddon. This as a counteroffensive by Ukrainian forces has Russia losing ground and its military on the run, as Charlie mentioned. Christina Ruffini has the very latest from the White House. Christina, good morning.
Pause. And I apologize, I forgot to make it larger for y'all. First things first. Putin has barely even started to deploy his troops. He hasn't even really went on a real offensive. We underestimate how many soldiers he has. Yeah, I know he's constricting people to join his military right now. But that's pretty fucking common. One of the most classic Russian strategies in war is we have more people than you have bullets. We're just going to keep sending them your way. Not to mention he has atomic weapons that are supposedly 100 times more powerful than what we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You tell me how that results.
Good morning, Dana. Well, President Biden didn't respond to our shouted questions about those remarks yesterday as he boarded Marine One, but that same language is now being used by the Ukrainian president, who said in an interview he believes Russian officials are laying the groundwork with the Russian public for a potential possible future use of nuclear weapons. Ukraine
is currently giving out medicine to supposedly help people with nuclear radiation poisoning, which it really doesn't. It's just supposed to help a couple of your organs that are going to process it. You're still going to be fucked. It's like being on the airplane and they tell you to put the fucking mask on. It's really because the oxygen is going to calm you down. It's not really because it's going to stop you from dying when the plane hits.
I think that it's dangerous even to speak about it.
In an interview with the BBC, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky
right.
said he doesn't know if Russia will use nuclear weapons, but he and President Biden agree on the consequences.
I agree it is an Armageddon. It is the risk for the whole planet.
That word first uttered this week by President Biden at a closed-door Democratic fundraiser in New York.
Which is wild.
He said, quote, "I don't think there's any such thing as the ability to easily use a tactical nuclear weapon and not end up with Armageddon. The risk
It's
of
what
which
they
he
want.
added, the world hasn't faced
It's what the fuck they
since the
want.
1962 Cuban Missile Crisis.
They have been pushing for this for fucking decades. This is exactly what the fuck he's been doing. Every one of his plans, every one of his policies is literally setting us up for fucking failure. We are now dependent on their oil. We are now dependent on their goods. We are now dependent and leaning on the rest of the world, and they're saying, fuck you. The fuck do you think's gonna happen?
Russia has an estimated 1,000 to 2,000 short-range nuclear weapons at storage sites around the country, including one close to the Ukrainian border. They could be launched from an aircraft, from the sea, or from the ground by a nuclear artillery shell. Here's one being tested by the U.S. Army in the 1950s.
That's not shit. You know? See, they're always talking about these old nuclear weapons. Technology has been advancing so fucking quickly. You think that we're still using classic nukes the way that we were thinking about them? This is not the game that they're playing. This is a whole different fucking ballpark. We need to take this shit seriously.
But he needs to know that in advance so we can stop it from happening in the first place.
Congressman Mike McCall is the top Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
If we see any indication from the intelligence community that he is taking steps forward to launch a nuclear threat into Ukraine.
How many more indications do you fucking need that he's taking steps forward? The fuck else does he have to do besides deploy the fucking nuke?
I think we need to show that to the world.
The White House says President Biden's comments were not prompted by any specific evidence. A White House official tells
Really?
just a growing concern about Putin's rhetoric, which
a growing concern based on what? Yeah, the rhetoric. What about his rhetoric? It's more than just how he talks. It's more than the tone of his voice.
Individual called, quote, reckless and irresponsible. Now, in that same interview, President Zelensky was asked if Ukraine wins the war, does he think Putin survives? After pausing for a second, he said, quote, I don't care. Dana?
They are playing with fire. The fuck is wrong with them? Are they serious?
As of the making of this video on set.
Oh my god. So, let's go back to talking about this whole oil bullshit. Currently, we are being cut off from our regular supply of oil because Biden had the brilliant idea that we shouldn't be drilling on our own land. So now, instead of just buying it, so here's the thing. Europe was getting a large portion of their oil from Russia, but Russia is a huge exporter of oil, so that still affects the global markets. Now that Europe is being forced to buy their oil from China, the chain of command is the UAE is selling it to Russia, who is selling it to China. Why are they doing that? Because a lot of the oil that they had was Nord Stream 2. So in order to offset that price, the UAE decided to make a deal with Russia. They are siding with Russia. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Earlier this week, OPEC announced it will be cutting its oil production by 2 million barrels per day. In response to the announcement, the Biden administration said that they have, quote, all options on the table.
Yeah, I bet.
At a State Department press briefing, State Department Principal Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel was asked if the U.S. felt a sense of, quote, betrayal by Saudi Arabia over the announcement.
Understatement. Fucking understatement.
A very black and white description and not indicative of the totality of our bilateral relationship.
Look, the Middle East has a totally different frame of thought than us over here in the West. A completely different. And it's been a known fact, with the fact that we've been in war with them for 20 fucking years, that we're not actually on the best standing. Things are pretty fucking strained right now between a lot of the Middle Eastern countries and America. And if you look at the world, India is not supporting us. Australia is not supporting us. All these countries right now are slowly going into the hands of China, slowly going into the hands of Russia.
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Just a quick follow-up. Has there been any high-level conversation with the American high-level American official in the last 24, 48 hours?
I have no specific.
Sure.
I have no specific meetings to read out, but obviously Saudi Arabia is an important regional partner, as I said, over the course of a multiplicity of issues, and so we are in touch with them on a number of range of factors at regular intervals. But I don't have any specific meetings to read out. Anything else on this topic before we move away?
Just one last.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, can you just address the gist of the criticism coming from the Hill is that the United States and Saudi Arabia have always had this relationship whereby the U.S. provides security guarantees and the Saudis provide the oil. And a lot of the critics are saying that.
What security guarantees do they actually need? This is the most wealthy part of the world, period. Oil runs everything. You are fucking kidding yourself if you think that these oil titans are not the real richest people on the planet. These people can hire any army on the earth to do whatever the fuck they want. It's kind of foolish to think that they really need our military that fucking bad, our protection that fucking bad.
That this was a sort of betrayal of that. what would be your response to those criticisms?
Well, I would say that is a very black and white description and not indicative of the totality of our bilateral relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As I said when answering Matt and Daphne's question, we have a multiplicity of interests with regard to Saudi Arabia. Of course, a piece of those is an energy relationship, but there's also a security relationship. And we talked about a lot of these issues over the President and the Secretary's travels over the summer. And like I said, there's a regional security component. There is the aspect of improving relations between Arab countries and Israel. Saudi Arabia plays an important role in Yemen, where we're continuing
what the
to
fuck
work
we're
with
talking
them,
about.
to extend the truce. So we have a multiplicity of interests as it relates to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, because why would they decide if they want to? All right, so here's the thing. If you're like, I got some friends that can help me out, but they live a couple towns over, you're saying that you're not going to do your best to build an alliance with your close neighbors if you can help it? Of course you are. And if you know that your close neighbors have a problem with specific party, in this case America, why wouldn't they try to build relations by showing that they're going to start cutting their ties with the Americans in some way, shape, form, or fashion, which is exactly what the fuck they're doing. All right. Let's get into something a little bit more lighthearted, but also very much not. Feds can now charge Hunter Biden. This is a pretty funny little clip it posted yesterday, but I feel like it's relevant enough that we're going to watch it anyway.
Daily Mail reports federal agents have enough evidence to charge Hunter Biden with tax crimes and making false statement while buying gun. Bombshell report claims decision lies in the hands of U.S. attorney in Delaware. Oh, in Delaware? Oh. Perfect. They know all about the Bidens. I'm sure we're going to see Hunter held to account. And then, hey, man, the dominoes begin falling. Because once they get Hunter, he's going to squeal like a pig. And he's going to be like, my dad did it all. He's a pedo. He's pedo Peter. Here's the laptop. Here's proof. And then Joe Biden's going down. Mark my words. On November 12th, the arrests are...
Yeah, right.
I have quite literally nothing's going to happen. Hunter Biden's going to laugh at it. Joe Biden's going to do nothing. And even if they did charge Hunter, Joe Biden would be like, here's a blanket pardon, son.
It's fucking true. All right, comment right now. Let me know. Do you disagree with that statement? To me, I don't see any possibility that Hunter's going to take accountability for any of this. Clearly, he's deeply involved in his dad's affairs. His laptop 100% shows that. If you're not aware of what if you're not aware of what's on this laptop and what it shows, basically it shows that Biden and Hunter, that Joe and Hunter were sharing a bank. It shows that funds were coming in from places like China, Ukraine. We also know that Biden's son, Hunter, has been given very particular jobs that he has no business having in all of these different companies. Like he was in, I forget what the position was, but it was a nuclear or energy company in Ukraine. He did some finance stuff in China, I'm pretty sure. So he's over here just doing all these different things that most people have to go to school for a long fucking time to do. He's just doing it. He's getting paid. And somehow his bank account is also shared with his dad. So all that money his dad has full access to. But you know, Biden said that he doesn't talk to his son about his business. Blah, 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 blah. Well, then we got text showing the other. But he's never going to go down for this shit. This is my whole point. He's never going to be in trouble for this. He's not going to be in trouble for evading taxes. He's not going to be in trouble for illegally buying a gun. He's not going to be in trouble for fucking shit. And if he did go down for it, Joe's going to make sure that he gets the fuck out.
To go.
Yeah,
I
thought you were reading the latest Q drop there for a second.
This, I think, is a way to scare Americans into paying their taxes and not buying guns. I think they're going to make Hunter a poster boy for tax evasion and illegal gun handling. They're going to give him a slap on the wrist, but enough that's like people are super afraid. They don't want to cross the government because the government is looking out for tax and gun crimes.
That is interesting because of all of the things they could have got him on. To choose those things. I mean, those are relative.
I mean, that is a decent little point there. I won't lie. why are they going to focus on the taxes and everything else? I mean, literally, he is taking illegal funds, and it's swaying our elections. It's swaying how money is divvied out during these campaigns, which does sway the elections. It's kind of wild.
Minor crimes compared to everything that he's done with human trafficking, crack, all that. The deals with China, tax evasion, buying a gun. That seems
truly the
it's
crack.
common.
Do be smoking crack
with it right now, and they're willing to throw Hunter under the bus, whoever they are. But like you said, Biden could pardon the guy. He probably won't. He's probably going to be like, well, he needs to, we got to make an example out of Hunter, but you'll be okay, Hunter.
No, he'll do it.
You think he'll just pardon him straight up?
Yeah, because Joe is not going to be. I don't believe Joe was going to run for president in 2024. He's going to be like, I
mean, that's true. He doesn't have the polling numbers to be able to run, so it is kind of an easy escape if he's just like, fuck it. All right, fine, pardon. And then they get the fuck out of Dodge before they can be held accountable. What's going to be really wild, though, is when their chickens come home to roost. Once they finally get out of this country and they're trying to get away from the war crimes and the bullshit that they committed here, and then they're over in China, wherever the fuck they end up, and then their government that they were fucking selling us out to betrays them, because that's how the fuck that shit happens.
I don't care. My kid's not going to jail.
If he pardons him, it will set an example that like paying your taxes isn't that important.
You think he cares about that?
No one.
Yeah, I think he's obsessed with making people pay taxes right now. That's why he hired 80,000 new IRS agents.
But he's going
to make an example. This is my projection is he'll make an example out of Hunter in this case.
These people are so
minor
dirty.
infractions.
This guy is so dirty and corrupt.
Well, he's not going to nail him. He's just going to punish him like he's a 17-year-old
Hunter
again.
Biden could destroy the Biden family with everything he knows. Joe is going to give him everything he wants.
I think Hunter's in on that.
That's what I'm saying. That's a fact. He could literally just be like, I'm telling.
He'll be like, we're going to make an example out of you to show people that paying taxes is important. Hunter's like, okay, Dad.
You think that crackhead is going to be like, sure thing, Dad? No, he's going to be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Because he'd go
and don't make me go and talk to them, because I'll tell them what you did with Ukraine and China.
Exactly.
He'd go down with them if he did. If Hunter turned on Joe, they'd both go down. I don't think Hunter's too self-serving.
I don't think Biden believes in...
If he's going to go to prison and Joe won't pardon him, then I'll say, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me.
I mean, maybe he'll get like 60 days time served in a cushy home
arrest
crap. That maybe
ankle bracelet.
No, I don't even think he's gonna get a 60-day nothing. If anything, he's gonna be in a like bonded out situation. He's gonna be free the whole fucking time, just awaiting the trial, awaiting the fucking shit, and then, like Tim said, he'll probably just get fucking pardoned.
In charge, I'd be surprised, but yeah, if they give him house arrest, he'd probably be like, sure thing, Pop.
Yeah, maybe house arrest.
Well,
maybe.
Sorry, Hunter, man, get off the drugs, brother.
This is the same guy that had Secret Service intervene when his gun was found in a trash can in 2018. Secret Service literally
I didn't know about
and
that.
said, "We know this is a local police case. We're going to make sure we're involved in this." And they literally found a handgun that was registered to him in a trash can.
Which is like a
and he got away with it. Yeah.
Well, hold on. They're saying they might charge him. So,
not for that specific charge.
What is it for exactly?
He might not. I mean, there's talks about this. What is it? Attorney General or prosecutor? There's talks about this prosecutor being right wing, and there's a possibility of this happening. I think I read that somewhere.
It's a Trump prosecutor.
Yeah, that was appointed by him. So people are saying there's a small possibility here, but again, the system has a way of greasing the wheels here. Joe Biden is an extremely dirty human being that will use every illicit means to, of course, protect his inner circle. And I could see a lot of shadowy things happening behind the scenes, putting pressure on this prosecutor, being like, this is my son, you don't do this. And then the prosecutor's like, okay, sure.
This is my son, you don't do this.
I think there's a theory out there that I think is plausible of Hunter deliberately releasing a lot of this stuff in order to get back at his dad for potential.
See, I don't know. Let's play with that idea. Let's say Hunter is trying to make his dad look bad. Why would he be the one specifically sharing bank accounts, unless he's sharing accounts with multiple members of his family and multiple of his siblings? I'm not even sure how many kids he has. Yeah, that's wild. That's a wild thought.
That Hunter committed against the president.
Hunter might actually be the hero.
Yeah.
He's like sitting there and he's being like,
That'd be a
I may be a
twist.
crackhead, but for the American people, I'll make the sacrifice.
He's good friends with Tucker Carlson.
What, Hunter?
Yes, look up
Really?
Hunter Biden, Tucker Carlson. You could see they have a good
blowing my
relationship
mind.
with each other. So maybe, potentially, yeah.
Really?
He's like giving all this information up for money. That's that makes more sense to me.
Money, but also maybe retribution. Maybe there's something
He calls his dad a pedo, apparently.
Yeah,
That was that one
True.
report.
listed as a contact.
I
Pedo.
I could see like in 15 or 20 years after Joe Biden's passed away that Hunter is like does a tell-all story where he's like, he was abusive, he was manipulative, he got me involved in Ukraine.
I mean, of course he was abusive. He's gonna hold his kid to like some crazy standard. A lot of these parents that are in those positions are fucking hypercritical, and I mean, maybe he wasn't even like, I mean, I'm pretty sure just based on what we know about Biden, there's some fucking sexual abuse happening, but I mean, it could even just be the fucking level of, oh, it's hard to live up to my dad and all that bullshit.
Positions that I didn't want to be in, just demonizing. Look how horrible it was. Big sympathy for Hunter. Hunter runs for office, the Biden name, like crap like that. I can see that.
I don't
kind of
know.
crap.
The Biden name is synonymous with mud at this point because of
Yeah.
just everything wrong with the
For real.
economy. This is funny. If you look at the polling for Democrats, the generic ballot, their polling tracks alongside gas prices to a certain degree. Now that gas prices are going up, Democrat polling is going down because they're the ones who are in charge. And when gas prices go up, this is most people. It really is simple math. Most people don't know, don't care, Russia, nuclear war, whatever. But I tell you this.
Look, really and truly, most people don't know and don't care. I think I'm going to start going out and doing some of these questionnaire videos, Jay Leno style, the way that they be doing it on TikTok. And I'm just going to ask people very common sense questions, not even gotcha questions. Because some of these questions, like, I can reasonably see how after a few years you would forget about whatever, you know what I mean? Like, oh, how many sides are in the rhombus and all that shit. But genuine questions that genuinely matter. Because I really am curious how many people are just voting based on gas prices.
You probably go to your friends, your family, and you're like, hey, this nuclear war stuff is serious. They could, we can go to war, people could die. And they go, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't care about that. And you're like, your gas prices are up 50 cents. Well, hold on. What? I noticed that. Now I'm mad. It's because of Joe Biden's war in Ukraine. And I say Joe Biden's war because I fully understand that Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. But Joe Biden decided to involve the U.S. in something that doesn't involve us.
Amen.
So that is his war. You can blame a lot on Putin, but why are we involved? So if you want to talk to people and you want to convince them to pay attention to this, you can be like, hey, your gas is going up because of this. And that means you can't pay your rent. You're not going to be able to buy food. It means food costs are going to go up. Labor costs are going to go up. And you can thank Joe Biden.
Well, he's burning through our strategic oil reserves right now, too. I mean,
man.
And he's just holding off until the election. As soon as the election is over, gas prices are going to skyrocket because, I don't know how much reserves we have left, but I think we're at kind of a record low.
Yeah, that's a real fact. And with him being so unwilling to develop the pipelines that we need to be able to drill our own oil, we could be energy independent again like we were under Trump. That is what these motherfuckers don't get. They're so concerned about the climate that they're like, I'm willing to kill everybody. Like, it's the most stupid shit. Like, as much as, like, maybe we should be concerned about the climate, maybe we shouldn't. I mean, a lot of people have different varying opinions. But regardless about it, we for sure have enough time to fucking deal with it. I mean, how many times has the point been made that Obama just bought some fucking property right there on the beach, knowing that the fucking waters are going to rise, knowing that it's going to flood out? Obviously, we got enough time. Obviously, these people understand that we have enough time. So it's asinine for us to be shooting ourselves in the foot like this. It literally seems like a deliberate attempt to destroy our fucking country. It seems like they are literally trying to pick us apart from within. They're starting little seeds of fucking terror. They're making sure that everybody is disconnected. They want us to be fighting over race, over sex, over religion, all the bullshit. And then they just come and sleep right in with these fucking weapons and this bullshit. And next thing you know, we're a communist country.
$1.80 gas in California last week. What the hell? It was 89 cents when I was like 18.
I mean, if you're looking to have some kind of large reformatting This is great.
Yeah, like some sort of massive
some kind
power
of
off, power on thing.
A great reset. Amen.
It's a hard reboot.
A large
It's fucking
reboot.
nuts.
It was a massive reboot.
A gigantic restart.
Yes.
It literally is impossible for this to be an accident. If you're still walking around acting like this shit is not fucking happening deliberately, then you're fucking stupid.
I'm trying turning it on and off.
An impactful new beginning.
But we're still going to need oil. Even if there's a great reset, we still need oil.
If they cut off the oil, I think like billions will die. Like within the first few days of oil getting cut off, 60 million, I think, are the estimates between.
Literally, this whole fucking planet is going to collapse. It's going to be a lot more than billions. It's going to be almost all of us. It's going to be such a small fucking fraction of people left. This is literally end times type shit, and they're doing it deliberately, and people are just sitting by and letting it fucking happen to them for no fucking reason. Why aren't you doing something about this? Why aren't people caring? You know why? Oh, well, you know, I gotta be sitting here making sure that I got all the new stuff and gotta be happy, and what about Nike? Oh ho ho.
And 60 maybe.
Dude, I'm looking at this technology where a guy puts oil in his like deoxygenated pressure chamber, or puts plastic rather in his deoxygenated pressure chamber, and then turns it back into oil, and then can reuse the oil. Like,
wow, what kind of plastic, and is the video fake?
It was like some Japanese guy from like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was on a small scale that he was doing it.
Man, I saw a video of a guy levitating objects in perpetual
I'll see if I can pull
machines.
it up. It was pretty basic, and I think it's still to be re-refined to be able to use like gasoline, but it was oil.
I think people need to understand too. Like,
it would be
people
interesting.
Like Greta Thunberg, when she's like, "We have to stop the fossil fuels now." You need to imagine an iron gauntlet on her hand and her slamming the table because she's talking about killing people.
And literally, that bitch started doing that shit as a kid. She was like, I feel so bad about the climate, I can't go to school. Why are we listening to children about shit? That is the biggest problem. These grown adults are letting children dictate their fucking life. And then we're like, oh, I don't know why bad decisions are being made. I really thought I could trust this fucking child.
This is
mass genocide. It's called like cutting off fossil fuels abruptly and outright will just kill tens of millions instantly, and then within a few days.
Well, they're already doing it with famine. You know, that's.
But give it a few years, and then there's going to be famines, power shortages.
We're already going through a false food shortage. They're getting us ready.
Growth charts, and then right around the advent of fossil fuels, it just goes straight up. It goes from like a consistent 500 million people in the world throughout history. And then right before the turn of the century, it just jumps to the billions, and then it keeps climbing exponentially. And it's because of this massive energy-rich product. If you cut that off, it's going to go right back down.
Here's the video. It's called...
It's fucking common sense.
Yes, finally we get to do this.
That's why it keeps trying.
This is called Machine Reverts Plastic Back to Oil. It's New Inventions Machine Reverts Plastic Back to Oil. It's from about 11 years ago, and the name of the inventor is...
It seems
Akinori
plausible,
Ito.
but...
He was the CEO of Blessed.co.ltd at the time. The website now, that link is no longer working. I don't know what the status of this technology is right now. But I mean, if one guy in a small company can make this on a small scale, where's our industrial plastic recycling?
Well, we got a CBC report.
I mean, it's right there with the fucking hemp plastic fucking Ford vehicles that ran on corn. Like, they don't want that shit. But here's the thing. They don't want us to be sustainable. So it's not just about not wanting us to be able to self-preserve. They are ensuring that the policies they put in place are the worst case scenario for our whole... We're going to have exactly what's happening in LA. All of our power grids are going to collapse. They're doing that on purpose. They want us to revert back to the dark ages. They're literally starting new school witch trials. That's the only way you could describe this shit. The way that people are getting canceled right now, it's literally a modern witch hunt. They are doing this on purpose. They want these bad decisions. This isn't no accident.
Apparently, they're doing it.
Big pile of trash and these tiny pieces of plastic.
This is what you're talking about?
I'm not sure if this
No, this is a Canadian company says they figured out how to do it.
That would be a diesel fuel that we're getting out of here.
Wow.
And a gasoline.
Gasoline from plastic.
In this case, this is the two that we've set up to do. Plastic
That'd be lit.
just like oil.
That would be lit.
And it came out of the ground at one time the same way. We are taking plastic and we are converting it using a process called pyrolysis, where we're converting it into
That's interesting.
fuel.
So we know that Bill Gates has people who monitor conversations about him. So, you know, of course, when the show starts, they tell him, Mr. Gates, Timcast IRL is on. Well, turn it on the TV. And now he's watching, and he sees this clip, and he goes, what? And then he's like slamming the table, and he's going to call. And he's like, shut him down. We don't want people to live.
You solved my problem. And then you come.
It's true. It's true.
His problem isn't the use of fossil fuels. His problem is that the use of fossil fuels makes more people. Thanks for checking out this segment from the...
Yeah, make sure you guys go and follow Timcast because they definitely do decent work. They cover a lot of good news and it's relevant. All right. So I wanted to come over to something a little bit less serious. And, you know, I thought we could watch this little video called What Actually Happens to Your Body If You Take Steroids. So I am curious, but this shit got me so riled up. This shit got me so hyped that I actually, I think that I want to go over to Twitter real quick. And what I would like to find is what's popping right now on Twitter. Because some of this shit right now is so outrageous. Oh, wow. So Candace Owens is pulling her money out of her fucking PayPal account. I mean, I might have to look into that. I'm not even sure exactly what's going on, but what I really wanted to find was the libs of TikTok. Let's see what they got popping today. Oh, they haven't posted in a while, but still, this stuff is good. An all-ages drag show. Why the fuck are kids at strip shows? That's the question. Please let me know if you support this because it's fucking asinine to me. Now look, if it was just the idea that they were having men dressed as women that genuinely believed it, like maybe they could be taking an argument. I still probably wouldn't be 100% behind it, but you know what? Like there's other like religious type, like it's whatever. But for you to have somebody at a strip show, how can you support that? How can you support kids being exposed to half-naked men dressed as women?
What's your name? Angel. Everyone say, hey, Angel. Angel, I want to buy you something really fabulous on Amazon right now. Can you go get my phone, please? And I'm making Mama cry. Don't cry.
Wow.
They're real. You look amazing as hell.
All right. Yeah, that's fucking nuts. That is fucking nuts. There is no reason that kids should be being exposed to this stuff. Look, do what you want to do in your own bedroom. If you want to be a part of that stuff, definitely. But why are you bringing your kids there? That would not be acceptable in any other situation. Oh, wow. Did it take me off of Lips of TikTok? Yeah, it did. All right, let's see here. What other videos have they been posting? Wow, they really haven't been posting a lot. They keep getting banned, though, so I'm not too surprised. Anarchist teacher wants to burn down the entire system.
75 or something. I can get my license revoked for being too woke.
But I think it's,
you know what I mean?
You're not overly, there's ways to...
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, trust me, I want to, like, burn down the entire system.
Yeah. There's ways to introduce...
See, what the fuck? All right, first of all, how are people being fired for being too woke? I have not heard of any situations like that at all. Please let me know, because everybody I know that's having any issues with their life is because they're not woke enough. But this motherfucker straight up says, I just want to burn down the whole system. This is what they're doing. This is a communist agenda. This is literally a communist agenda.
his ideas without broadcasting it. You know what I'm saying?
And I broadcasted it too much last semester. So.
Yeah.
But like, eventually you want to like remove Christianity from or religion from progressive thought because like religion is inherently hierarchical.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Tyler Rinn used to teach at the Owasso 8th grade center until he resigned last April after
That's
these
fucking nuts.
TikTok videos were highlighted by libs of TikTok.
If your parents don't love and accept you for who you are this Christmas, f them. I'm your parent.
That's him?
I'm proud of you. Drink some water. I love you. Bye.
I have a rather large
Jeez.
TikTok following.
He said, I'm your parents now. Like, they're not hiding this shit at all. This isn't some fucking game, you guys. This is really happening. It's being so, like, a lot of parents do not believe the amount of indoctrination that is being put into their kids' minds on a daily basis. They literally don't understand it.
I'm an authority figure, so I'm going to give out a Christmas message of like, hey, if your parents don't love and support you for who you are this Christmas, f them. I'm your parents now. I love you. Drink some water.
That's fucking nuts.
TikTok page Backdoor is his secret curriculum. Here is a list of books that Tyler wants to hide from parents on his TikTok link tree.
I will say, Gen Z is like super progressive.
Oh, I know.
I taught in Missouri last year, not last year, but 2 years ago. I taught a philosophy like 101 class. We took a political quiz. Half the kids were like radical progressives.
Radical progressives. That's the key fucking word right there, is radical. They're not progressive. They're radical. Usually radical is followed by extremist.
I'm definitely not part of Antifa.
Yeah.
As a joke comment.
Yeah.
And they latched onto like, oh my God, it's Antifa.
They couldn't stop you. Obviously, you're teaching, so that's good.
No, they definitely couldn't.
Yeah.
Owasso was like, they were super, like, they didn't want to stand up to the parents, which I get. I mean, it's Oklahoma, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But they definitely didn't like, nothing went on my record. Like,
Good.
You know, I could resign instead, so it didn't like
Wow.
my teaching experience.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're in the fight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is absolutely fucking nuts. Alright. Back to news. See what we can find. China's communist power struggle. It says that I watched this, but I actually didn't. I just clicked on it, so it's highlighted.
China's communist power struggle is coming to a head as a major meeting of the Communist Party this month will determine the future of China.
Yeah, it would be nuts if Xi Jinping was no longer running that bitch. Things would change around this whole world if that happened. For better or for worse, depending on whoever took his place. Possibly for worse.
Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chaplin. October 16th is the
That doesn't mean I
start of
support
the
him.
20th National Party Congress, the most important meeting of the Chinese Communist Party. Xi Jinping is expected to announce his plans to continue as head of the Communist Party and quote-unquote president of China. Of course,
Forever.
the president is just meant to deceive people since there's no popular election in China. He's
Yeah,
given
that's
himself
nuts.
lots of titles, but his highest title is General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. To get to this point, Xi had to spend years amassing tremendous personal power. He's been called the chairman of everything.
Jesus.
Xi Jinping's so-called anti-corruption campaign has purged 5 million officials, which is insane.
Wow.
That's an even...
And you know all of those officials are either being tortured at this point, working to death, or are dead.
higher body count purged than in any of the Purge movies. But if you've been watching this show, you know those purges weren't really about getting rid of corruption. They were part of a high-level power struggle within the Chinese Communist Party. Because as hard as Xi has been fighting, his enemies have been fighting as well. This is a life.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
Between
like, how is nobody taking him out yet? And that whole entire system, it's literally just dog eat dog. Everybody's breaking the law to the best of their ability, trying to make it benefit them. They have all of these ways that they're offshoring their money through casinos. It's a whole fucking thing. Maybe I'll try to pull up the videos about that because it's really fascinating. But in this whole culture where it's basically just savage murderers, dog eat dog, with no hope to take his place without doing something like that, it seems like they would definitely want to do something like that. And there's no way he's going to actually give up in this election.
Xi Jinping and a political faction tied to former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin. It's like a soap opera, really, which is why I've been covering it in what I call the people's favorite communist soap opera, General Hostility.
I love it.
By the way, to celebrate the upcoming Party Congress, we're offering, for a limited time only, this fantastic General Hostility t-shirt. You can get it over at chinauncensored.tv/merchandise and show your love for the people's favorite communist soap opera. Get yours today or be purged. The link is below. So today, to get you all prepared for the Party Congress, it's time for a recap episode of General Hostility. Think of it like one of those clip shows that happen before the season finale. So stay tuned, because I'm going through the whole history of the power struggle between Xi Jinping and Jiang Zemin, right after this quick commercial break. Previously on General Hostility, a life or death power struggle rages on between current Chinese leader Xi Jinping and former leader Jiang Zemin.
It really seems like that dude doesn't have any life in his body. I feel like they did something to him. Like, am I crazy? He looks like somebody that literally is there because he has to be.
But to understand it, we have to travel back in time to Mao Zedong, the great helmsman himself. Chairman Mao, the man who practically wrote the book on the art of the power struggle. That's how Mao seized control of the CCP in the first place. That, plus lots of purging.
Right.
Mao plunged China into an era of chaos, with mass political movements, violence, and the complete destruction of the Chinese economy.
And what people don't realize is he did it on a socialist agenda. He was trying to create equity.
But then Mao died, which could only mean one thing: another power struggle. Who came out on top? One person no one expected, Deng Xiaoping. In a true General Hostility twist, Deng came back from the dead to dominate the CCP. Well, okay, he came back from being purged by Mao twice, which is arguably harder than coming back from the dead.
Yeah, that's
Deng
crazy.
began a series of economic reforms in the 80s.
That's really
called
nuts,
the Reform
honestly.
and Opening Up movement. Basically, all that meant was the Communist Party had wrecked the economy so badly, it had to back off a little bit and allow people to make money again.
See, but that's what communists do. They literally take control of the system, destroy the food, destroy the money, destroy the business, and then there's nothing left.
Or risk total annihilation, like the Soviet Union. And as a nice little bonus, all the big money went to communist officials or their families. This was kind of like feeding the hungry by eating above them and letting them catch the crumbs. So there were economic reforms. But what about political reforms? This is Hu Yaobang and Zhao Ziyan. They were known as Deng Xiaoping's left and right hands. They were in charge of implementing his economic reforms. But they were also interested in political reforms, or at least not opposed to political reforms, like more freedom of speech in the press. They also launched their very own anti-corruption campaign that even targeted the children of top-ranking officials. Hu Yaobang even apologized for the Communist Party's misrule of Tibet and pushed for greater autonomy. And if you're a fan of this channel, you already know how those political reforms worked out for them.
It's really crazy how people don't want to learn from their history. Like, this could be blatantly told to the mass majority of the public, and they'll just be like, I wonder what's for dinner.
I haven't been this sad watching a prequel since Star Wars Episode 1. Let's just say there were some hardline Communist Party officials who didn't like Hu and Zhao's reformist ideas, which could only mean one thing: another power struggle. The hardliners eventually forced Hu Yaobang to retire.
Okay.
But he was really popular with the people. And when he died in April 1989, tens of thousands of students showed up to Tiananmen Square to mourn him. Those became the Tiananmen Square protests. And
yeah, it seems like people on the far left do not like it when you speak out against their idea of what books are appropriate and how we are able to be sovereign.
know how that ended. I haven't been this sad watching a prequel since Star Wars Episode 2. Double yuck. The Tiananmen Square Massacre was the Communist Party saying there would be no political or social reform. Anyone who stood up to the party would get mowed down. But Deng Xiaoping had a problem. Party hardliners blamed the protest on Zhao Ziyang, and they made him spend the rest of his life under house arrest.
Wow.
Zhao was supposed to be Deng's successor. Deng needed to find someone else fast.
See, that's how they do it, though.
Someone who would continue his economic policies, but would appease the hardliners in the party and do no political reform whatsoever. And that man turned out to be Jiang Zemin, party secretary of Shanghai.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, we finally get to him. General Hostility has more background lore than the Silmarillion. When Jiang came to power, he was in a pretty weak position. Since he was from Shanghai, his power base in Beijing was quite small, which could only mean one thing: another power struggle. In fact, there was allegedly even a coup attempt against Jiang. Are you noticing a pattern yet?
This is how it is. It literally happens the same way over and over and over again. Everywhere, always.
The Communist Party leaders have more drama over secession than the show Succession. And they don't even have Brian Cox to tie the whole thing together. Even Deng Xiaoping, who was still wielding real power, didn't really like Jiang. Remember, he never intended for Jiang Zemin to come to power in the first place. In fact, during his famous southern tour in 1992, he made thinly veiled criticisms of Jiang. And then, shortly after, declared that Hu Jintao would replace Jiang at the 2002 National People's Congress. Ooh, catty. Forget succession. This feels more like the Real Housewives of Beijing. So how did Jiang go from this weak position to creating a political clique that would dominate China for more than a decade? General Hostility will be back after this quick commercial break.
It's all so fucking nuts.
General Hostility. Jiang Zemin and his political clique have held an iron grip on China for more than a decade.
It really makes no sense. We allow a country currently to impart genocide on the Uyghur Muslims. We allow it. We all know that it's happening, but it's not a big deal apparently. For decades, literally some of the worst atrocities in humankind have been happening by these leaders. I can't even fathom it.
But it poses a life-threatening obstacle to Xi Jinping's dreams of power. How did Jiang get so powerful? Well, by killing a lot of Falun Gong practitioners. Falun Gong is a spiritual movement that became popular in China during the 90s. By 1999, there were government estimates that up to 100 million people were practicing Falun Gong in China.
Well, they ain't gonna let that happen.
Then were in the Chinese Communist Party at the time.
Yeah, that's bad.
That made party hardliners nervous. and Jiang knew he could take advantage of this. For years, Jiang tried to go after Falun Gong. Persecuting a group to attain power for yourself? Why does that sound so familiar? Oh yeah, it was how Palpatine became Emperor in Star Wars Episode 3. Triple yuck. But in April 1999...
Who sees the similarities to what's happening right now?
10,000 Falun Gong practitioners showed up in Beijing to petition for an end to the harassment and the right to freely practice their beliefs. A large demonstration near Tiananmen Square, close to the 10th anniversary of the 1989 protests? The Communist Party freaked out, and Jiang was there to stoke the flames. He claimed Falun Gong posed a threat to the Communist Party and that its members had infiltrated all levels of the government. So, Jiang said the only solution was to let him set up an extra-legal Gestapo that answered only to him or someone appointed by him. This was called the 610 Office, named because it was established on June 10th. Not very creative, I know, but still slightly better than calling it the Gestapo. Jiang and his people at the 610 Office dominated China's internal security apparatus. Within a few years, China was spending more on its internal police force than its military.
See, that's nuts. And I feel like that's exactly where we're going right now. Currently, it seems like they're flipping it. They're like, oh, defend the police, blah, 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 blah. And then they kind of take it back a little bit. But they are increasingly making a military police state for us at home.
I'm shocked they didn't choose this for their outfits. But Jiang had a problem. Just as his whole extra-legal police force thing was making him more powerful than ever, he had to step down as leader of the Communist Party, which could only mean one thing: another power struggle. When Jiang officially stepped down,
I mean, that's of course that's what that means. What else could it mean?
Controlling everything behind the scenes. On paper, Hu Jintao was now the leader of the Communist Party, but Jiang made sure Hu had no power. In fact, Jiang was able to expand the 7-member Politburo Standing Committee to have 9 members, and everybody but Hu Jintao and his ally Wen Jiabao were working for Jiang.
Wow.
That's why, even though Jiang was officially retired, he was always front and center, right next to Hu for any important meeting. In fact, it's widely believed that Jiang even tried to assassinate Hu. It obviously failed. But then Xi Jinping came, and Jiang's iron grip finally broke, which could only mean one thing: another power struggle.
Really?
Hu Jintao was supposed to have only 2 5-year terms. The question became who would replace him. Obviously, Jiang and his cronies wanted one of their own, and they chose this guy, Bo Xilai. The story of Bo Xilai is crazy, even for the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
It's something I could make a whole episode on. So, here's the Cliff Notes version. Basically, Bo moved up the ranks by actively engaging in Jiang's persecution of Falun Gong. So much so, he was getting sued for it internationally.
Wow.
You know you're extreme when the international community looks at everything the CCP has done and thinks, that's all fine, but this guy has gone too far.
Damn. I really want to know more about him because that's fucking nuts. Like, genuinely nuts. How does somebody create that much fucking turbulence?
You see, Jiang's persecution of Falun Gong was becoming a liability. Jiang promised the party he would wipe them out in 3 months. At this point, more than a decade later, he had totally failed. And in response to Jiang's actions, Falun Gong had become an international movement exposing Jiang and his cronies' crimes against humanity. In other words, making the party look bad. Hu Jintao and his only real ally, Premier Wen Jiabao, used this as an opportunity to fight back against Jiang's faction. According to a leaked U.S. Embassy cable, one successfully argued Bo's significant negative international exposure made him an inappropriate candidate to represent China at an even higher international level. Bo
I mean, that makes sense.
Going so far as wiretapping Hu Jintao. But this basic.
So that dude was literally the ultimate communist, but he was so fucked up that he messed up his reputation with the rest of the world, and it lost him his ability to run the country because the rest of the world wouldn't fuck with the country if he ran it. It's absolutely crazy. That dude is a straight up gangster even by that standard. That's fucking nuts.
Gave an opening for Xi Jinping to come to power instead of war. Xi was a compromise candidate. Jiang didn't want Xi, but figured he could still get his own guys to control Xi the way he controlled Hu. Then, Bo Xilai, with several other Jiang faction guys, tried to stage a coup against Xi. It all went wrong, and Hu Jintao was able to purge Bo Xilai to fight back against Jiang.
Damn.
It's too complicated to go into here, but it involves organ harvesting, the murder of a British businessman, Bo's right-hand guy making a midnight escape to the U.S. consulate dressed like a woman, and you know what? Maybe I should make a separate episode about this. It's pretty wild, even for general hostility.
Damn.
But the upshot is the coup attempt basically put Xi Jinping, the supposedly neutral compromise guy, on the war path against the Jiang faction, which could only mean one thing. Another power struggle.
That's fucking
Turns
crazy.
out, Xi has a knack for power struggles. Bo Xilai is in jail now, along with those other 5 million officials. Xi Jinping shut down the 610 office. And over the years, he took control of each part of the Communist Party's military and police force by purging corrupt elements.
Wow.
Slowly but surely dismantling the Jiang faction's grip.
Just fucking
And now,
them up.
Xi is on
That's
the cusp
crazy.
of breaking the Communist Party's two-term
That's
leadership
crazy.
limit at the upcoming party congress. Will this give him the power he needs to finally break the Jiang faction once and for all and rule China with an even heavier iron fist? Find out next time on General Hostility. And now you're all caught up and ready for the party congress. It's scheduled for October 16th. So sit back, have some popcorn, wear your General Hostility t-shirt,
Okay.
and enjoy the show. And as I said, China Uncensored would not be possible without support from viewers like you, either by
Amen.
liking and subscribing, sharing the show with friends and family, buying an awesome t-shirt, or through direct support on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Those are the fans I call the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army, who join us in the fight against the Chinese Communist Party. As a thank you to them, I respond to their questions or comments. Today's comes from Sean Vikoren. It might be worth mentioning that a YouTube Prime membership gives you almost nothing. I switched to Patreon as soon as I was appraised. Great point, Sean. Yes, a lot of people ask me this. Does a YouTube Premium membership help us? Not really. It helps YouTube for sure, and you won't have to sit through ads, but YouTube barely gives us anything when a YouTube Premium member watches the show.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm really not exaggerating when I say even $1 an episode on Patreon is so much more than we get from YouTube.
Really?
If you'd like to support the show and can't afford $1 an episode, you can also choose how many episodes a month you'd like to support. So, Sean, thank you for your support.
See, I always thought that when you had YouTube Premium that they had to be given a decent cut to the creator, being the fact that you're no longer watching the ad. They have to be getting something for that. So that's kind of crazy. I never would have known.
What do you think about the Communist Party's internal power struggles? You can comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you can, support China Uncensored on patreon.com/China Uncensored. The link is below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.
Yeah, and if you want to check it out, right there's the link. I actually put it above my head. Right there's the link. Go ahead and get a little screenshot of it, whatever you gotta do. And make sure you show him some love. Put that like on that video. Alright. Let's see what they got going on. And I think I'm going to work on changing the titles. I'm kind of just thinking of this on the spot. But I think I'm actually going to make this a Watching the News series. I think that it makes more sense. Because even though like the Crimean Bridge was what the basis of this was. And if you go back to the very beginning of it, that is what I talked about. it's not the entirety of what I want to do. I like watching the news, but I also like reacting and getting kind of outraged by stuff too. I mean, I feel like it's fun. So yeah, I think watching the news is a better vibe. Let me know if you fuck with it. But that said, let's see what we can find. What is this? For women, liberalism just keeps growing.
Welcome back. Is America's future bereft as more women move left? More women have caught the woke infection, while men still move in the right direction.
Oh shit, this is coming in crazy. I've actually never watched any of these videos. I don't know. I'm not against mainstream stuff, you know what I mean? But I just don't. But this dude seems like he's coming out with some shit.
Research, my favorite kind, finds that young women are identifying as more liberal now than any time in over 2 decades.
Wow.
While young men are not. Although more young men are identifying as women. And in that dim rest stop light, I have to take their word for it.
Wow. This dude's a goat. That's crazy. That is literally crazy. The fact that he can get away with that on TV at this point is nuts. Fox is really trying, at least. Because you can't have comedy without some uncomfortable truth. That's how it works. I love that they're allowing that.
Don't knock it. But currently, about 44% of women ages 18 to 29, or as Leo DiCaprio calls them, senior citizens, they count themselves as liberal, which is easy when they've never had to pay for their dinner, am I right?
This dude's coming out here swinging. He's literally making like Andrew Tate level jokes right now. And I mean, this is allowed on YouTube. This is allowed on regular cable. It's nuts. I love it.
But for dudes in that same age bracket, only 25% are libs. You can find them buying cat food on the way home from yoga. Losers. No, that number's been the same going back to the late 90s when Cat was just 20. But for young women, liberalism just keeps growing, like my biceps on Arms Day, Morgan.
He's really into this Easter dress.
So what's happening here? Well, gender studies experts might cite abortion policy, the Me Too movement, the rise of Trump, that liberalized more women.
See, it's crazy because I feel like people are just so uninformed because the Roe v. Wade stuff literally just gave the power to the state. It didn't make it illegal. And actually, in a lot of states, it made it a lot worse. It made it so that where they're doing it past birth in some instances, postpartum. Like, it's crazy.
Could be they're just delaying motherhood so that conservatizing influence is being put off. Or maybe young men's brains are larger. A sexist would say. Who put that in there? So women are more liberal than ever and men aren't. How's that work in the dating scene?
Yo, let's just take a moment here and reflect on the fact that if I was to come out here just making straight content saying this stuff, I would be immediately taken down off of YouTube. I'm actually worried that just watching this is going to get me fucked over. He's right. I am worried that watching a Fox News thing might get this taken down. I'm going to look more into that. I'm going to stop here. I don't want this to become a problem. Let me just pull back. What actually happens to your body if you take steroids? I'm curious. Are you curious? Infographics is amazing.
There are two very different stories when it comes to steroids. The first is one of hope. The other is one of overindulgence and addiction. There are types of steroids that can save your life. However, when steroids are taken in excess and without the approval of a medical professional, they can also lead to your death. Which type of steroid should you never put in your body? Let's find out. At a basic level, steroids are synthetically created hormones that the adrenal glands in your body produce normally. Hormones are chemical messengers that tell your cell which biological processes they should carry out. For example, the hormone insulin signals your cell to take in more sugar from your bloodstream and use it to create energy. The human body also uses hormones such as testosterone and estrogen to signal different physiological changes during someone's life. These hormones can also aid in the growth of muscles, which will come into play later. Corticosteroids are the steroids most often prescribed by doctors due to their anti-inflammatory properties.
Look at those scabs. Just take a good look at those scabs. But no, it's all fact.
They have a number of applications and can aid in recovery of countless medical conditions. The other more dangerous type of steroids are anabolic androgenic steroids.
See, and that's what we all want. That's what we're looking for.
These are the steroids that bodybuilders and athletes use to enhance their muscle strength and performance. It's these types of steroids that can be dangerous if used incorrectly. First, let's understand why steroids, if used properly, can help you or even save your life. Again, remember that most steroids need to be prescribed by a doctor to ensure the right dosage and type of steroid is given.
See, he's saying that to cover his ass. But obviously, don't take no fucking steroids without knowing what you're doing. It's stupid. Don't be stupid.
You're struggling to breathe. Every time you take in air, it feels like your windpipe has been sealed shut. You scramble for your inhaler and fumble it. The precious device falls to the ground. Your lungs feel like they're going to explode as you reach down to pick up the device. You stick the inhaler in your mouth and push down. A cool, moist mixture of air is forced down your throat. For a moment, you hold your breath, and then, with a sigh of relief, you breathe out, and you can now gulp down the much-needed air. Your chest heaves up and down as your lungs once again bring in oxygen and release CO2.
So all them kids on asthma, don't let them fool you. They're on steroids. They're ready for war.
People with asthma suffer from long-term chronic inflammation and swollen muscles in their airways. When the airway becomes inflamed, the body also produces extra mucus, all of which blocks the airway and causes difficulty breathing. It's the swollen muscles that the mixture of steroids and bronchodilators and an inhaler help to relieve. The anti-inflammatory effects of steroids allows the muscles to relax and the person to begin breathing normally again. When steroids bind to the membranes of muscle cells in the throat, they signal the cells to shrink in size through a series of biological processes. This causes the swelling in the throat to go down and allows the person to breathe normally again.
See, I really thought that this was going to focus on the steroids that we were all thinking of when I clicked on this video. It's good information, though. I'm glad to know it. But I was just really trying to see what he had to say about it.
It's absolutely terrifying for those several seconds that someone is having an asthma attack and can't breathe. Their body is literally choking them to death and depriving them of the oxygen they so desperately need. An asthma attack can become life-threatening without the aid of the anti-inflammatory signals the steroids and inhalers send to the muscle cells. This is just one way steroids can be used to save lives. Doctors can prescribe steroids for a number of different reasons. Many times they're used to relieve uncomfortable conditions that can arise in the body but might not be life-threatening. However, without them, people would be in an incredible amount of pain and discomfort. So you're sitting at home when your eczema begins itching like crazy. The condition is caused by an overactive immune system along with
his nubs is caught on fire. He literally has some fire nubs.
Environmental factors that affect the skin. As you scratch and try to relieve the discomfort, it feels like your skin is on fire.
I think he's naked.
The swollen part of your body becomes so inflamed that you just want to cut off the entire body part and be done with it. Luckily, the doctor prescribed you steroids to help reduce the inflammation and return the skin to its normal state. The steroids can either be taken in pill form or by rubbing a cream on the infected area. If taken orally, the pills are broken down in the digestive tract and then diffused into the bloodstream, where they're carried around your body by the circulatory system. When they reach the inflamed site, the steroids bind to the muscle and skin cells and signal them to carry out the process to reduce inflammation. Similarly, when a cream containing steroids is applied directly to the body, they bind to the skin cells and suppress the immune response that's causing the irritation and inflammation. Although eczema is uncomfortable, there's another disease that is much more painful and even life-threatening that steroids can help with. For inflammatory bowel diseases such as Crohn's and IBS, steroids can help reduce some of the most intense discomforts of someone's life.
This video is giving me some information I didn't know I was ever going to get. But I mean, it makes sense, being that that it relaxes the muscles, that a lot of things related to needing that would be affected.
These diseases cause the gastrointestinal tract to become inflamed. resulting in truly nasty side effects. Medical professionals are not entirely sure what the exact cause of Crohn's or other inflammatory bowel diseases is, but the swelling in this region of the body is due to the fact that the immune system is attacking the cells, which causes irritation and swelling. Doctors think these conditions might be caused by a virus or a bacteria infecting the cells in the gastrointestinal tract, but no single pathogen has been identified as a culprit yet. In these situations, doctors will prescribe steroids that reduce the swelling in the intestines and bowels to allow waste to pass through the system more easily. If left
Makes
untreated,
sense.
the excretory system might become backed up with waste, which would eventually start to poison the body. In these
Right.
circumstances, bowel inflammation can become life-threatening, and surgery must be conducted to remove the scarred tissue causing the blockage. Before this point, however, doctors will prescribe steroids to aid in reducing inflammation and get the swelling
we're
under
getting
control.
close.
When the steroids bind to the cells in the colon and the intestinal tissue, they suppress the immune system in the region, allowing the inflammation to go down and waste to flow out of the body. There are some side effects to taking
We basically just got a visual representation of somebody taking a shit, if you were curious.
steroids prescribed by doctors, such as an increase in appetite, mood changes, and difficulty sleeping. These are all a result of the chemical composition in your body being changed by the steroids and the process they trigger. Don't forget that steroids mimic hormones, which signal changes to occur in the cells of your body. And although steroids might be used for the anti-inflammatory properties, they also change the chemical levels in your body, which will inevitably affect multiple organs and tissues. This brings us to the really nasty things that steroids can do to you. You have probably heard that people who abuse steroids can have lower sperm count or suddenly explode into fits of rage. And
Yeah,
although this
that's
may
what I've
be
been
true,
hearing.
there are some much worse side effects that result from steroid abuse. The type of steroids that are often misused are called anabolic androgenic steroids, which is also abbreviated as AAS.
Yeah, that looks scary. I feel like if you got the balls to shoot yourself up with something like that, you are a wild motherfucker.
These are the types of steroids that people take to increase their metabolism and build larger muscles. AAS is typically a synthetic form of testosterone, but females and males produce testosterone naturally.
Okay.
It's one of the hormones in the body responsible for growth, and in males, testosterone signals the body to develop male characteristics during puberty. In women, testosterone also plays an important role in growth and development. However, it's present in much lower quantities in females than males. People have found that by using AAS to trick the body into thinking there is testosterone present, it speeds up the growth of muscles. This is by no means a healthy process, and although it can create the desired results of muscle growth, abusing anabolic androgenic steroids can have some serious consequences. So,
Yeah, so let's see where they go with it. We're going to talk about the acne. We're going to talk about the crazy hair growth probably.
actually happens to your body if you take these types of steroids? Well, muscle mass will certainly increase, but everything else that'll happen should make you think twice before pumping your body full of AAS.
Gonna shrink your
Performance-enhancing
nuts.
drugs such as anabolic androgenic steroids are banned in most sports and competitions. Each year, athletes who are caught using steroids
Yeah, don't take
are
that shit
fined heavily
competitively,
and
you
forced to
fucking
forfeit their
cheater.
right to compete. Therefore, it seems crazy to use steroids as the risks far outweigh the gains, yet it still happens all the time. Imagine you're an athlete who's obsessed with gaining bigger muscles so that you can be stronger and faster than your competitors. You train hard but hit a plateau, so you decide to take steroids to enhance your performance. After every workout session, your muscle fibers are stretched or torn apart. Your body naturally repairs any damage, which results in more muscle mass developing. But if you can trick your body into thinking it's also growing at the same time, muscle creation will increase exponentially. You pump iron all day to break your muscles down, then gulp down an energy drink full of steroids. These steroids circulate around your body and attach to your muscle cells. They signal the
Really?
cells
They
to produce
take it
more
in
proteins
fucking
to aid in
energy
the repair
drinks?
and strengthening of your muscles. Simultaneously, the steroids trigger cell division, causing the body to create more muscle cells. These processes can create a
Hold on. They literally were just showing all these needles and stuff. How are they taking it in their energy drink? Don't tell me that this shit is possible and accessible for me. They ain't using needles anymore? That doesn't even make sense.
imbalance, which may cause your body to start developing characteristics that it shouldn't, while also affecting your brain chemistry. Neither the growth of the muscles nor the unpleasant side effects develop right away. It may take weeks for these things to happen to your body, but it's estimated that anabolic androgenic steroids increase strength by around 5 to 20%, which is why people abuse AAS. Each time you take steroids, the cells in your body ramp up protein synthesis. This is important for muscle growth, but can also lead to the overdevelopment of certain male traits. This happens in both men and women who take anabolic androgenic steroids. Since your cells are working harder, they require more energy, which is why you experience an increase in appetite. The feeling of hunger is just your brain telling you that your body needs more nutrients to make more energy.
Yeah, it reminds me of watching Bradley Martin on his fucking, all of his little vlogs that he did with Steve and all them, because I felt like that motherfucker was just able to eat 3 pizzas or something. Like, there's no way that man is living. That shit just seems impossible, because they get to this ungodly size.
Anabolic androgenic steroids also trigger the body to break down fat stores and use the fuel in them to increase muscle mass and promote growth. This causes body fat to decrease drastically in people who take steroids. The steroids also signal the body to create more red blood cells to aid in oxygen delivery around the body, so more energy can be made. These might all seem like good things, but it's what comes next that should worry you. Anabolic and androgenic steroids contain a combination of different chemicals. It's the ratio between the anabolic chemicals and the androgenic chemicals that determines what the steroid actually does to your body. Anabolic refers to chemicals that signal and promote muscle growth, while androgenic signifies the chemicals that promote the development of male sex traits. A steroid needs to contain both these properties to work effectively. For example, a steroid that only contains anabolic chemicals will not allow muscles to grow at the desired rate due to the fact that the other hormones and proteins are needed to facilitate the process that can only be triggered by androgenic chemicals.
So literally you're better off building muscle while you're still growing? Why the fuck didn't anybody tell me that?
The ratio of androgenic to anabolic steroids can also cause a certain negative reaction in the body to occur. Using steroids increases your blood pressure and heart rate, as the body needs to circulate nutrients more quickly to fulfill the needs of the cells that are now producing more proteins and dividing more frequently. Unfortunately, both high blood pressure and heart rate can lead to heart disease or stroke. Therefore, the very thing the steroids are telling your body to do might also kill you. With a steroid that simulates testosterone, like with many anabolic androgenic steroids, there are some mental side effects as well. One of the byproducts of high levels of testosterone, especially in males, is that they can become aggressive and prone to mood swings. Again, this is due to an imbalance in chemical levels as a direct result of the steroid stimulating protein synthesis, among other cellular processes. The new proportions of biochemicals in the body affect the neural pathways and the composition of the chemicals in your brain. When these symptoms are taken to the extreme, it can cause you to lose control of rational thought and lash out in aggressive ways. This has come to be known as roid rage. There also seems to be a correlation between steroid use and body image disorders. The chemical imbalance caused by anabolic androgenic steroids might distort your view of your own body and push you to work out more to lose fat you don't have and gain more muscle. This is a vicious cycle, because if your brain is telling you that you don't look good and that your body should be more muscular, you'll likely take more steroids in order to reach an unobtainable body image. This leads to steroid abuse.
That's some weird body dysmorphia right there.
Use AAS without consulting their doctor. In these circumstances, steroids are not just messing with your biochemical processes, they've also become an addictive drug. Anabolic androgenic steroids themselves might not be classified as addictive, but what they do to your brain chemistry can make you crave them as if they were a drug you can't get enough of.
So it's
While
like
you
weed.
gain muscle and the biochemical processes in your body are altered due to the steroids,
dependent.
other dangerous side effects are occurring.
Not
The
addicted,
liver
but
filters
dependent.
blood while also balancing nutrients and metabolizing certain chemicals, such as the complex molecules found in steroids. When you take steroids, it forces your liver to work overtime to break down the chemicals in the drugs and the byproducts generated by the increased levels of protein synthesis happening around your body. Protein synthesis, like most cellular processes, generates waste, which also needs to be broken down by the liver. What this means is that steroids overwork the liver. People who abuse steroids never allow
I
their
didn't know
liver to
that.
rest or recover, which leads to complications or liver failure later on. This is when steroids become life-threatening. It doesn't really matter if anabolic androgenic steroids give you larger muscles if your liver fails and you die. There are also other more noticeable side effects of taking anabolic androgenic steroids. Females might start growing hair on their faces where they normally wouldn't. Their voice might deepen while their breast size decreases. Other changes, such as an enlarged clitoris and irregular menstrual cycle, also occur. All of these side effects are a direct result of the chemical and hormone imbalances that happen within the body as a result of taking anabolic androgenic steroids. For males, there are some much more strange physical side effects. Abuse of anabolic androgenic steroids can cause gynecomastia. This is a condition in males where the breast gland tissue increases due to an imbalance in the hormones estrogen and testosterone.
Really?
When this happens, breasts grow in size. Gynecomastia usually affects both breasts, but sometimes only causes one
That's
to grow
wild.
extra tissue. Either way, this condition does not provide more upper body strength and is therefore not the desired result of most people using steroids. Although most anabolic androgenic steroids mimic the hormone testosterone in some way, they are not always a perfect substitute. In fact, abuse of steroids can actually lead to hypogonadism, which is a condition that causes the testes in males and ovaries in females to stop or produce very small amounts of sex hormones such as estrogen and testosterone.
And if it
When
makes
this
them grow
happens in
tits,
males,
it
it can
makes
cause the
sure why,
testicles
or
to
makes
shrink.
sense why they're
In
not
both
shrink.
sexes, it can render the person infertile.
It's kinda
Again,
crazy.
This is a perfect example of how steroids can produce big muscles, but with consequences. Is risking the ability to have future offspring worth increasing your muscle mass and becoming stronger for a brief period of time? For some, it is. But for many younger
Damn.
athletes who start taking steroids, they don't know the risks or consequences these drugs have on their bodies later in life. Some of the most severe consequences of using anabolic androgenic steroids are the long-term health effects they have. In order to build bigger muscles, your body needs to increase hemoglobin production along with a number of red blood cells to deliver more oxygen to your cells. This oxygen is then used to create different proteins and energy. However, increased levels of blood cells and hemoglobin can thicken your blood and increase your chances of having a heart attack even after you stop taking the steroids.
Really?
Anabolic androgenic steroids are also known to have long-term effects
Oh,
on
my
your
mic.
cholesterol levels. Research shows that these steroids can reduce your HDL cholesterol while raising your LDL cholesterol. Basically, it increases bad cholesterol overall throughout the body. Again, this has nasty consequences for your heart and can lead to several other complications. The use of steroids to increase muscle size and strength is just not a healthy alternative to working out and eating a well-balanced diet. Athletes and bodybuilders will take steroids to gain an advantage over their competition, but at a great cost to their bodies. If you take anabolic androgenic steroids, there's a good chance you'll not only experience unintended physical side effects, but your brain, heart, and liver will suffer as well. The short-term gains are
So it
never
might not
worth the
be worth
long-term
it,
damage
but it
that
might be
anabolic
worth it.
androgenic steroids can cause. That's why they should only be taken when prescribed by medical professionals and in specific circumstances. Now watch what happens to your body if you never move, or check out what happens to your body when you stop drinking alcohol.
Well, both of those are interesting, but I feel like for the second stream, I'm just going to end it here. And yeah, again, I think that idea was decent. We're going to probably start calling this watching the news. Something along those lines. But all right, y'all.